I was just talking about how men abuse women with their car, and this just happened. This Olympic couple, power couple, he just unalived her with a car. This perfect, happy couple, this really nice guy, family man, holds baby kangaroos. Yeah, that guy dragged her down a street and unalived her with a car. While she was holding on to it, dragged her. Only because Twitter itself has been dragging the media and the framing of this horrific story. Do we have headlines that are a little bit less offensive? But I want you to pay attention just the way they frame this. Former cyclist, world champion charged over wife's death. She's no longer an Olympian, a champion herself. Literally went to the Olympics twice. She's just the wife of him. World champion cyclist has been arrested, accused of unaliving his own wife. She doesn't get a name. No one cares about her record. Here's another one. No name. No Olympic record. Just the wife of this professional cyclist. Hit by car. No. That's not what happened. Dragged by car after hitting. So there's a lot of, Australian journalists who have way more to say. I did not know this couple until we lost her. Unfortunately, now I know her name. I hate that I didn't know her name until she's dead because of her husband. But, the media was called out a lot. You're praising the husband and his cycling career. And what a tragedy. He lost his career because, oopsie, he dragged his wife and unalived her. There's a domestic violence crisis in Australia. I believe it. And the failing media isn't helping. So just so you know, the failing media is still predominantly controlled by rich white men. So do not think that the women, I'm not saying women don't do this, but as a journalist myself, I do not get to write my own headlines. The editors write them, and then the editors also answer to somebody. So a lot of times we blame the journalists themselves, and not saying the journalists are not responsible, but they have several bosses and they don't have control of a lot of things, of the framing sometimes. So when it's mostly white men who control the media, of course, it's going to be racist, misogynistic, all the things that continue this hellhole. There's a few interesting things about this story that highlight what I've been talking about, y'all. One of them is the fact that she gave her career up for him. So to me, he sounds like an insecure, narcissist abuser. Maybe he never laid a hand on her before now. All it takes is once, y'all. But they fell in love the same year they both became Olympians in London. The framing of this drives me mad. But of course, this is like the Daily Mail or one of those stupid papers. But this is the places that I can find the most information. That's the only reason why I use them. I don't know who they're quoting here. They said Melissa was among many Australian women cyclists who had happily given up their careers following an Olympics to marry their partners and have children while the man continued on with his career. Happily? Maybe. I don't want to take away her agency, but a lot of times women are very strongly encouraged to abandon their careers. A lot of times because they get baby trapped. Because look at this. Her career began taking off the same year she met this dude, finishing second in the team pursuit at the 2012 track world champions in Melbourne prior to them going to London. So her career is going shh. Look at this. Within a few weeks of tying the knot, Melissa fell pregnant with their first child and gave birth to their son in December of 2018. Curious. Two athletes meet. One is on her way up. The other one's probably an insecure man. Convinces her, you know what, babe? Let's have a family. You're good. I'll take care of you. Melissa began competing cycling career at just 16 years old, and by the time she retired, she was 25. She retires at 25 as an athlete? Don't tell me that man didn't have something behind that. I don't know. Just speculating here. But she is an Olympian. Olympians don't need to be having babies at 25 years old. There is a very short lifespan of an Olympian's career. Why on earth would she retire at 25 to start having kids when she has many years left to have kids? But okay, let's assume this was her decision. She was very easygoing and supportive. Don't be easygoing, y'all. Not with men. Do not be men's peace. Don't be their peace, please. This is how they exploit you at the least, abuse you, and unalive you at the worst. This is the other part that concerns me and actually lines up. So he quit his own pro tour at the end of last year, so in 2023. And that's always a period of adjustment. So his decision to retire did not come without some misgivings. He described it as a roller coaster of emotions. So what were they going to do in his retirement? She's already been retired since she was 25. Oh, it sounds like Brad Pitt. They're going to open a vineyard. I wonder if he has an alcohol problem too. I swear all these men, they want to have a bourbon company or have a vineyard. Like, okay, maybe Ryan Reynolds is not and some of them aren't, but like, how convenient. Why not own a winery, especially if you love alcohol? I know men who do brewing and stuff like that who are not alcoholics. I'm just saying. Just saying. He said he wanted his own label of wine. Here's another thing that's been used to describe her. She was the rock of their life. I don't ever want to be a man's rock. Ever. You know, my dad wrote a book. It's really bad. And he always described my mom as his rock. He screwed over my mom so bad. Cheated on her. Left her with 2 kids. But she was his rock. Okay. I don't want to be a man's rock. I do not want to be a man's rock. You be the rock. But let's be rocks together. I do not want to be a man's rock. Just so you know what he did to her. You're supposed to go to a Christmas party. She was trying to grab the door handle and attempt to stop the vehicle. So I don't know if he was trying to leave without her. You know how this stuff goes. Gabby Petito, remember that whole thing started because he locked her out of her own truck? And then she's the domestic abuser? Like, I swear to God. This is what happened. He allegedly dragged her down the road. And also, this is what friends have said. From the moment they started dating, Melissa's friends and former teammate manager, Rachel Gilmore, said this week, Melissa committed 100% to all of the troubles and difficulties he went through in his career. Oh, please don't do that for men. Please don't do that for men. Men do not appreciate that. Men actually hate you when you sacrifice for them. I'm not saying that couples don't go through problems together. I'm not saying that you don't take turns making some sacrifices here and there. But this never ends well for women, ever. Please don't. I know our society has convinced us that this is great. No. When women don't even want to do this, these kind of men make us do it. They consume our lives. And then when you have children involved too, like, God, look at this. This man is out there on just days before being like, look at us, look at my perfect family that I just ruined. Like, what was going on in that home? I want to mention one last thing. And my mutual Cecilia Regina talked about this recently. I'm going to tag that video in my comments. It's a must watch. And I probably will stitch it again later because I have more to say. But that man retired like a year ago. And as she says in her video, and I've said before too, when men are retired, unemployed, injured, or something happens, a big life change that they are struggling with, but especially something like retirement, where he's like, what do I do now? Domestic violence it goes out the roof. These men will take out their frustration with their jobs, their sense of purpose, their bad health, their poor, if they can't, have a schmegs drive or life like they used to. Even literally like seemingly decrepit old men will beat women with their canes. But please be careful if your husband loses his job or quits his job. Unemployed men. And I've done videos on this too. Unemployment in men is the number one reason that women get divorced. And it's not because they're gold diggers. It's because these men become insufferable when they're unemployed. Whatever was going on before is multiplied by 10, 20, 100, or 1,000 when they no longer are employed or when they're retired. Which is why domestic violence is actually really bad once men retire. Did a whole video on that. And a lot of women literally want their husbands to go back to work, get out of the house. Or women will keep working because they don't want to be at home with these men because they're terrifying. It brings out the worst in men, even the healthiest of men, usually. Please be careful, y'all. Oh, and by the way, they had marital problems for a while because she was concerned about the kind of person he was becoming, who's known for his quick temper and personal demon, and has been called an angry young man. who's like the Hulk and can blow up. Point out the difference between the way that the media frames men's anger and women's anger, especially black women's anger. Because y'all remember the way they treated Serena Williams for being justifiably mad about some of the calls that were made against her. Whereas all these white dudes are throwing rackets. Y'all remember like John McEnroe or whatever his name is? That dude broke a racket at like every match, right? But if women get mad, especially black women, because it's always like misogynoir built into like everything, it's unacceptable and they get punished. But look how they're like, you know, Rowan Dennis channeling anger. He's channeling his anger. Like this guy not only talked about his temper himself, he seemed to be just known for having temper tantrums. He's known for his temper. People refer to him as temperamental artist type. He said, I have been known to sort of have short fuses. And I think cycling is the way I let anger out. That's how I vent. Now, y'all know that I've done a lot of videos on how men will do literally anything but really deal with like their stuff. And even though this guy apparently did go to a psychologist, it sounds like he had a lot of problems and he needed more than just a psychologist. And these men, I've talked about that dude, that surfer dude, and he did a whole movie called Chasing Demons. It's all these like super messed up men who are either addicts, right? Alcoholics, or if they're not drinking, they're like adrenaline junkies, you know, like they literally are addicted to whatever crazy sport they're doing. And they just, you know, marathon runners, and they don't stop. And their whole family pays a price for them literally running from their demons. And here's the thing, you know what? I don't know. Maybe these men can get help. But what I don't like is women paying the price for these men's brokenness. We paid the price. Us and the children. Whoever is in the home with these men is tortured by them, right? This woman lost her career. Again, I am connecting dots that are not necessarily proven, but as a survivor myself and seeing lots of things that are very common across dangerous, violent relationships, especially with men, getting baby trapped, having to quit your job, being completely financially dependent on these men, and then literally having to like be the rock and uphold them and keep them anchored, right? That's what we do. And the thing is, though, is all it takes is something like retirement, unemployment, an injury. Like these men, all it takes is one thing that's like life-changing, and there's always one person who pays the price of these men's crisis. And it's usually the woman, whoever's in their home. It's not always a woman, right? Because it's not just cishet men who are doing this, but it's usually the woman in that man's life. It's his girlfriend, his wife, his mother, because these men are going to grow up and they're going to move in with mom, and then they're going to unalive mom. Or it's their daughter who moves in to take care of dad, or it's their daughter-in-law, or it's their sister, or whatever. But it's usually a woman because they have physical power over these women, and especially if they have financial power. And then women are taught to martyr ourselves to broken men. We are their rehab. We are their therapy. We are their rock. And I am so sick of it. We get sacrificed for these men's refusal to take their stuff, their past, their trauma, their patriarchal indoctrination seriously. And that's why I would so much rather women be alone with their cat than stuck in a house with a man like that who drags you down the street and runs over you and leaves you for dead. A pair of teenage neighbors tried to give her first aid until the paramedics arrived, and then she died. Not only did he unalive her, he left her. Well, I don't know all the details, but he wasn't doing CPR. Teenagers. Like, think about that. And it's just so easy for us to look at photos like this and this. And I know this as a woman who was single for most of my adult life, to see photos like this and be like, I really want that. I really want that. And it's okay to want that. It's normal to want that. But I'm telling you, the most dangerous thing a woman can do is give birth and date slash marry a man or live with a man. And so if you have some healing to do on yourself because you keep getting attracted to men who terrify you, please stop dating. Please stop dating. This is life and death. All it takes is one. Not just one man, but one incident. One man who has a quick temper and struggles with some of his personal demons. That's why I keep saying it. I know it sounds like really mean. But if you keep dating men who abuse you or who are just awful to you without ever touching you or whatever, if you keep ending up and you cannot break out of this cycle, you need to deal with your personal demons. Mine almost got me unalived. Mine almost got me unalived, y'all. And I didn't date anyone until my late 30s. And the first man I fell in love with, limerence, not love, almost took my life. So that's why I care so much about this, y'all. I'm also, as you know, I like to focus on hope. I like to show that it's not just like you have to be alone for the rest of your life. But please, if you cannot break out of this pattern, you will be so much better off just not dating for a while, or a long while, than ending up in a situation like that. All it takes is one incident and everyth's gone. It's over. A lot of these men will not ever heal. They don't want to, and they will not let go of the power that patriarchy gives them. Okay? We can't make them change. We cannot make them heal. There's not many that are willing to do it. And so what I did a long time ago was decide that I was totally okay being alone for the rest of my life than being a lesson that a man has to learn by losing my life. A lot of these men won't even learn the lesson anyway. A man will maybe go to jail, probably will still never change. We cannot lose our lives waiting for and hoping men will change, and we certainly cannot afford to try to help them change. I'm done. All that energy goes to my own healing. They can heal themselves. Leave them alone, because they will not only take their own life, they'll take yours before they take their own. I'm done. I spent too long hating myself to ever let a man's self-hatred and hatred of women threaten all the work that I have done. Decades of work on myself. Never again. Never again. And I hope that for you too.